Hello, and welcome to People Keep Dying, a podcast where we talk about people who die. My name is Angela.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this week, I'm going to do I don't remember if I referenced this specific event 2 weeks ago for the 25th episode after the Alhambra massacre, but I'm going to talk about the Santa Monica car crash.
Okay.
Santa Monica Farmers Market car crash. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
It
was a really big deal when...
Yeah, I think you did talk... I mentioned it.
Yes, and I didn't know if you've heard about it. No. But it was a big deal, obviously, where I lived, because I'm in LA, so when something like that happens, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But when I did all the research for this, I was like... Holy shit.
Was it? Okay, well, I'm ready for your story.
It's not a murder, but there's...
People die?
Lots of people die.
It doesn't always have to be a murder.
But you feel like this anger. You get an angry feeling.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Unnecessary deaths.
Yeah, yes. Because, does someone do it on purpose? You know what? Why don't you just tell me the story?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Santa Monica has a farmer's market that was established on July 11th, 1981 in a downtown retail district. And I'm giving you a background of what it is. It's a bi-weekly at this location, Wednesdays and Saturdays, and it's the largest and oldest organic farmer's market, I think, in the world. And it attracts...
In the world?
I think so. And I think it attracts a ton of people. It's really large.
I mean, the world,
organic.
Though.
It's not just a farmer's market, but adding the organic word, I think, is what makes it.
I guess I'm just picturing maybe European countries or
they wouldn't be a certified organic farmer's market. They're the beginning of the certified organic farmer's market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's America.
They close off the last few blocks of the street for pedestrian traffic.
Okay.
And because I talked about what happened 2 weeks ago, someone drives into this. Mm-hmm. So the Wednesday market, which this happens on a Wednesday, attracts about 9,000 people every week.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's only open...
How many people did the other market...
I couldn't find.
Okay.
Yeah, I just know it has a ton of people.
Okay.
But this one, it's only open from, I think I wrote down towards the end, but I think it's from 9 to 2. It's not.
Yeah. So it's just a morning.
It's a morning market. Maybe it's 7 to 2 because it's a farmer's market. But anyways, so on Wednesday, July 16th, 2003, 86-year-old George Wellerm drove his 1992 Buick LeSabre through the busy farmer's market around 1:47 p.m.
No.
13 minutes before the market was supposed to close.
Oh my gosh. That's just bad timing.
Yeah.
So he's 83 years old.
Yep. 86.
86 years old. Was it on malicious intent?
No.
Okay. So he just had a senior's moment.
Yes.
And I think I've heard
you remember
about this
if you ever watched South Park.
Okay, I shouldn't say I've never watched South Park. I don't watch South Park enough, so that's not where I know it from.
Season 7 episode that references this.
100% have not seen it.
But anyways, so George first struck a 2003 Mercedes-Benz S430. And for some reason, that was written down, so I was like, sure.
Well, because it's a Mercedes-Benz.
You could just say car, but I don't care.
Yeah, it struck a car.
That had stopped to allow pedestrians through this crosswalk, then accelerated around the road closure sign and crashed through the wooden sawhorses, I don't know what those are, and plowed through the busy crowd of shoppers traveling nearly 300 meters or 1,000 feet at a speed between 60 to 100 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
Or 40 to 60 miles per hour. And all of this happened in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just say this old dude, what's his name again?
George.
I was going to call him Harold for some reason.
George is also a really old name.
Yeah. George is driving along and
goes around a car.
Yeah, but
goes around the foreclosures and then plows
he
through.
Didn't hit the Mercedes?
No. Well, he hit the Mercedes, but then went around the road closure signs.
Yeah, okay. So he probably hit the first car. I'm just I'm trying to understand because there's probably a panic Like maybe he panicked at one point.
That's what
Maybe
he's gonna
his,
say.
Like, his legs seized up, or
I'm
had a
gonna
stroke.
I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to explain away a lot of this.
Yeah.
So you're gonna want to wait until I finish like this part at least.
Because I'm feeling a little bad for the old dude because I really feel like
he kills
it's
10 people,
Yeah.
including a 7-month-old baby.
I understand. I'm sure. Let me just hear the story
wait before you're like, oh, just kidding. So no brake lights were noted by any of the witnesses, meaning George didn't even attempt to stop the car at any point. And I'll mention it later. Anyway, sorry. George drove his car down the middle of the street instead of steering his car away from the pedestrians to avoid self-injury. Because if he hit a stall, he would hurt himself. But if he just plows into people, he just kills them. Okay, yeah. So he goes, you know how like farmers markets are. There's stalls on each side of you. There's a pedestrian walkway in the middle. He went right down the middle. Didn't try to like swerve away or anything.
So he specifically said that he went down the middle so that he
didn't say any of those things. That's what he did.
Okay. I mean, it's also possible that he went down the middle to avoid the stalls.
He did. But then there's people.
Yes. No, I understand that. But there's also people in the stalls. So it's just, I understand. I'm just.
That's not.
You tell the story. It's fine.
By the way, the brakes weren't broken. Just so in case you're like, the car.
Wasn't. That's not what I was thinking. You just keep tell me the story.
He was seen staring straight ahead at the victims as they were flying off his windshield, angrily yelling out of his car, "Get out of the way."
Okay.
George did strike one vegetable stand, sandwiching the victims with shelves and structural components from the stand. George's car finally stopped after hitting a ditch when a body became entangled underneath his car and other bodies flying in the air landed on the hood.
Yeah,
you don't really feel bad for him.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. I don't believe that he did it on purpose. I think that he was experiencing some sort of thing. So yeah, I do on some level feel like it's not to excuse the things that he did. It's just like, unless he specifically stated, that's why I was asking if he specifically stated that he drove through to avoid injury to himself. Because if he was just driving straight and other people assumed why he was driving straight, I mean, that's not.
But it is like an observation that if he hit a stall, this car would have stopped. And he would have hurt himself.
He did hit a stall.
He hit it by mistake. But it sounded like he just like accidentally swiped it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I'm looking at the situation a little bit differently than you are, but
because I finished writing the story.
Because you've read the whole story, so I'm willing to just it's not to like excuse, be like, oh, it's because he was old. It was just clearly something fucking happened in that vehicle. Maybe he shouldn't be driving to begin with, but yeah, the market manager, Laura Avery, said, "I was standing there talking to one of the farmers. I heard this thing coming and went right past us and we ran after it. People were trying to get the license plate. Farmers were yelling, 'Get that guy, get that guy.' But when we got there was this old man sitting there with his car with an airbag blown under his face, looking like he didn't know where he was. Then somebody said, 'Oh my God, there's somebody underneath the car.' So everybody got together to move the car. And there was this lady there just totally skinned and scraped. And the first person hit was a homeless man standing there, like right where the horseshoes were, which is where, he hit first. The car knocked him 15 feet in the air, like the homeless guy, and he was dead when we got there. Mm-hmm. By the end of those 10 seconds, George had killed 10 people, including a 7-month-old boy, and injured 63 people. Did he now I assume it was like a boy and a mom, because it's not like
just a boy. Because the thing is boys, babies are less resilient, so the mom could get injured, but the mom won't.
But it was just more of was the mom also injured, or was
it doesn't say, but there were 63 people injured.
Yeah, the baby
And a flower vendor, Laura Caulfield, said the baby was dead and the mother was screaming and there wasn't anything anyone could do about it.
I wonder if he hit the stroller.
Probably. There was a lot of strollers hit as well.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that it was a summer, there were more children than usual because of summer vacation.
Yeah.
Obviously, because most people are like me
the angry mom started to form, people yelling, "You're a murderer. You ought to be shot," which, yeah. So there was a guy named Dave Baxter who's like 6'3" and 230 pounds. And he said, "I was afraid for an old man. I want the authorities to deal with them. It's not an angry mob," which, he's reasonable. And so he got in the middle between the crowd and George to make sure that George would at least be able to talk to the police officers.
Yeah.
Then George asked a woman who appeared to be an off-duty police officer, "How many people did I hit?" So someone had said John Ellis. They had so many names. So like there's too many explanation of like what they are, but a lot of them are just like people who go to the farmer's market. John Ellis said it wasn't even a question. It seemed more like a statement. He was really calm. Like he was very calm when he was answering these questions. Kameen Guger, a vendor at the market who sold sprouts, asked George, "Do you know what's going on? Do you know what you're doing?" And he said no. George told investigators he accidentally placed his foot on the accelerator pedal instead of the brake and tried to brake but couldn't stop. And this is one I wanted to mention. Remember the Costco incident in our city of London, Ontario, where that lady, you weren't here.
I
okay.
Don't know
so about 3 years ago, at the South End Costco in London, Ontario, there was a retiree who around, I think, her early 60s, named Ruth Berger, who somehow got mixed up with drive and reversed right into the entrance of the Costco. And if you've ever been to Costco, there are actually cement barriers. So somehow she got in between those cement barriers and killed like a little girl and the fetus of the mom. Like, like the mom was pregnant and she, And so there was a big uproar because obviously she just got like a slap on the wrist about it. Because she was like, well, I got confused. It's like, do you not want to know where your brakes are?
Well, it's also like how much of a distance, and
it was enough of a distance that you're like, you should. Why are you accelerating more?
Yeah, no, that is.
And then she went back and fought to get her driver's license back.
Yeah, I mean,
like I'm like, after you kill people because you're obviously incompetent as a driver, why would you think that people will be okay with you wanting to get your license back?
I don't really know the situations with the 60-year-old lady. She definitely shouldn't have gotten her driver's license. I mean, it was taken away from her. Yeah, it should have been taken away. Yeah, at least after a couple of years.
But I have noticed in this city more so than like I've noticed in other cities, which is weird. Maybe I just notice it more here because
you live here.
I live here. But I mean, I never really seen it in LA. But I have seen a lot of cars go through a lot of buildings here, like that Lint store. In the South End always gets hit. Someone also drove into the Skechers outlet store. Like, I don't know why there's so many cars.
I don't
drive through buildings.
There's like so many. Yeah, I don't really know so much that. I've had a lot of experience. I shouldn't say a lot of experience. I've had a lot of weird experiences with like older people driving the wrong way down the road.
And they should not have a license.
Yeah, like I've had on 3 separate occasions, I've had like this old lady. It always happens to be an old lady for me. An old lady like driving into the drive-through, like from the exit.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to pull out, and then she's like waving her hands at me like I'm in the wrong spot. And then she drives over the curb and out an exit that is. It's one of those roads that has like the barrier in between, and she takes a left and she has to go right. And so then she drives the wrong way through the drive-through, and then she drives over the grass, and then she drives down this like busy road on the wrong way. And it was just like, what?
It happened to me
wrong with you
several times, and it's still in this city. Like, it's never happened to me, strangely enough, in LA, but here, like 4 different times in parking lots where people almost hit me and they tell me to get out of the way, and I'm like, I'm not even walking down the middle of the parking lot. Because I'm a driver, I'm not inconsiderate enough to like take over the whole middle parking lot area to like walk. So why would you think it's okay to almost hit me?
Yeah.
You do understand how people work, right? And walking. Anyways.
I hope so. So yeah.
Well, he told them that, like that.
But going back to like the old guy and stuff like that, like
I don't know. It's such a fucking tricky thing because
That's
he
the
killed all
reason
these
why there was a South Park
people.
episode about it,
And
because it was a tricky situation of like, how do you deal with something like this?
I mean, first of all, yeah, he did it. Was he in his right state of mind? No, I don't believe that he was. He probably had a fucking like senior's moment. He probably shouldn't have been driving. He probably has Alzheimer's or dementia.
Nope.
Or like there's a lot of like mental stuff that's going on.
I will
especially
get to that.
Yeah. But I do think that he should have gone to jail. I do think that he should have never been able to drive again. But I don't think that the mob should have fucking attacked him.
Though they didn't, because the guy got in between them. But I'm like, he did drive home after he got arrested because they don't revoke your driver's license for a little bit.
Oh my god! So
They
that's
didn't
totally
revoke it for a couple of days after.
That was crazy on the police officers because clearly he should not have been.
But then
driving.
they're all sympathetic. Like, you maybe had a senior's moment. Maybe he had a clean driving record.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, you do. He drove into people. At the very least, his license.
There could have also been.
He shouldn't have been able to drive.
It wasn't enough time for them to know if the car could have malfunctioned either.
But still.
And if it was the car malfunctioning, then it's also not his fault. Which is also like that's
but
always,
then you use that as proof to get your license back, but
later.
you still lose it in the meantime.
Well, if you want to become a politician and make laws, then you can do those things.
No, I don't want to be a fucking politician.
You're not. I don't want to. I'm not saying
you
that
have to
in
do far too many favors for other people.
Yeah, I'm not saying that in like a negative way. Like, you'll never. Like, I'm just saying that I'm not, and we're both not in the right like mindset. And
I don't know. And also, when was this?
This was in 2003.
And where was it? In
California.
Yeah, in California. So like here, they take your fucking license. Like,
are you sure 2003 would have?
I mean,
that's a long time.
I don't know if it was in 2003, but I do know like they just take your fucking license.
They
don't
usually
give a shit.
make these laws after something bad happens, and that's possible that the law they changed the law after him, but until the incident happens, they can't. Remember the gun thing I told you? Like the fact that you could just go buy a gun.
Yeah, but
you don't know anything, like no ID, no.
Yeah, that's so
so I mean, it's one of those things where until something bad happens,
cars have always been a lot more monitored and all that than guns. But anyways, doesn't matter.
Which is weird now that I think about it. But I wonder when it started becoming a thing to even do driver's licenses. Because I'm pretty sure they didn't really do monitoring driver's licenses for a long time after cars were made, because only rich people could drive in the beginning.
Well, no, like I think driver's licenses probably for a while. It was seatbelts that were
seatbelts definitely were recent.
Were a recent addition.
But anyways, let's get back to my story. Tests conducted immediately after showed that George was not under any influence of drugs or alcohol. And investigators said that they did not believe he had any medical problems that may have caused the crash.
I mean, I don't believe that, but
none of what George recounted was...
Depends on what they're looking for as a medical reason back in 2003.
None of what George recounted backed up by like what he said happened wasn't what the witnesses who were there said happened.
Yeah.
He said it. People were just like, I can't believe what I was seeing. He was hitting people and they were flying. You would think he would have slowed down, but he didn't. When he hit someone, you could hear it, and it was just like boom, 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 said Parker Hall.
Yeah.
On the same day, footage of a previous crash George was involved with surfaced. 10 years earlier, George had driven his car off the road in much the same fashion as the market crash, and the footage was nearly identical in that it showed a confused George wandering around his crashed car in a heavily populated public area. So he had done this before. But because he hadn't killed anyone the previous time, his license wasn't taken away.
Okay, hold on. I mean, wow, what is your driving laws down in fucking California?
Because unless you kill someone, you don't take a license.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe there. That's not what I'm used to. Like, they fucking take your license for everything here. I just look at it where if you have a 76-year-old man, if you have anybody over 65, that's like all of a sudden having some confused moment and they like drive into people, like regardless if you kill anybody or not.
It's just one of those things where you should reevaluate. So the previous crash was not fatal, which would explain why he still had his license. In fact, George had passed a vision written test on renewing his driver's license in November 2000, so 3 years previously.
Yeah, I don't think there is necessarily anything.
The whole incident sparked a national debate and safety risk posed by elderly drivers in the U.S. Supporters of George would come to defend him, saying that the accident wasn't his fault. He suffered from arthritis. Nausea was a side effect of medication and reduced mobility from his replacement. And I'm like, we don't allow people who have seizures drive. And
those are all the reasons why he shouldn't have been driving. Not that that it wasn't his fault.
People who have all those still drive.
Fault. Yeah. Like, it was his fault. I'm not saying that he's not at fault for this. He most definitely is. It was just, I just don't think that it was like a malicious.
No, it was. I don't think it was malicious or intentional. But he shouldn't have been allowed to drive.
He should. Well,
that's what it was.
Yes, he definitely he shouldn't have been driving. 100%. I don't necessarily. I mean, even
I don't
after
think
the last
he got up that morning thinking he was going to kill anyone or anything, but just the fact that he went into a busy area and that is just. And why did he go around the roadblocks? Why would he ever?
Probably swerve. Like, I don't know.
See that there's roadblocks there to stop people from going around it. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, but it's like hit the roadblock or what? Like, what
or
was
turn
the,
right
or what
left.
Was the like? I don't know what like
usually
the visual
when it's a
of
roadblock, it's like a 4-way road, right?
Yeah.
And then they stop it on one side, so you can turn right or left. So the roadblock is there. Why wouldn't you turn right or left? Why would you go around it? And I think that was like the main problem, the fact that like he maneuvered around things, so he was fully capable of knowing how to maneuver around things, and he didn't.
I mean, panic and like adrenaline sort of like takes over, especially when you're driving a vehicle. Like, I've been in a situation like, not that I mean nothing like this, but like where I don't know, panic. Like, I'm trying to understand, but it really doesn't make any sense. And if there was an accident like 10 years before where he did the exact same thing, it's a little like whatever.
It's a little suspicious when it's the exact same manner of like just going down and basically plowing on a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And
but at the same time, it's also like,
my real problem is the fact that he went around a roadblock. See, that's the thing.
I would like to see what the state of the right or left was, that would cause him to have. But
in no way would he have been legally allowed to go down that road.
But like, maybe like after he like swerved or he was like leaving the car that he just hit, maybe he couldn't turn like. I don't know, making fucking excuses. Maybe he couldn't turn enough, or he felt like he couldn't turn enough either to the left or the right without hitting another car. And
but if he had already hit a car, then he was supposed to stop anyway. So what is he doing?
I don't know. He apparently tried to stop and
that's what he said.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I'm like, really the roadblock doesn't necessarily bother
the roadblock
so
bothers
much.
Me in the way that like you're not supposed to go down there anyways. What are you doing trying to go around it?
I mean,
like you see like a roadblock, because we have roadblocks for festivals, right? When you see that, you just turn right or left. You don't just think to yourself, I'll just go around the roadblock.
Well, I mean, no, but he obviously wasn't a fucking like in his right mind at that moment regardless.
But he wasn't in right enough mind to know to go around a roadblock and not hit any more larger buildings that would hurt himself. That's like
I don't have a visual, so it's sort of like, I don't know. When you say like he drove around it, it's sort of like drove around it like how? Was it just like one of those like little
usually it's cement block. Sometimes it's a wooden thing, but either way it's there to tell you not to go down that road.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Yes, but I mean, just because, like, never mind.
So George's attorney would state that since the tragedy resulted from a misapplication of the pedal, George had committed an accident and not a crime. Pedal error cannot constitute negligence. He had a relatively clean driver's record at the DMV with one minor crash and no violations because the thing that happened 10 years previously, like I said, he didn't hurt anyone. So it's not a DMV violation.
Yep. Which is weird. He must have, at some level, he should have violated something.
It really just kind of like, it depends, I guess, on like what happened. You know, I see lots of people here drive. I'm just like, how do you have a license? Every time I see anyone on the road drive, I'm like, why are you still driving right now? Daniel Von Hoff, a forensic consultant for traffic accidents from the San Diego area, said such confusion between the brake and accelerator can occur in drivers of all ages, although more commonly when they are behind the wheel of an unfamiliar car, which was not in his case, but it does happen, is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. Daniel said the mistake typically compounds itself as the driver panics, stepping hard on the gas, and the mistaken notion that the brakes have failed, which I don't understand, because if you think the brakes have failed, why don't you let go of the gas? Like, I was confused about that. I didn't really know.
Because, like, I think what you do is you end up just pressing it, but maybe you don't release it enough, and so it just looks like you're accelerating versus.
I wonder if there should be like schools or something that teaches you of, because obviously like this it seems to happen, like I said, here a lot more often than I would have thought. So I wonder if there should be things. There should be things where like if you like people do sometimes hit the accelerator over the brake, but I mean to let go of it when you realize there's a mistake, you should like take your foot away. Like that should be your, like you should be taught that reaction. I wonder is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily know. I don't know how you can teach that reaction, because every car's like brake feels different. The accelerator's different.
I mean like the reaction of like if all of a sudden like you're trying to press the brake but you're going faster to release it. Is the reaction.
How do you train that reaction?
I guess you train reactions for like lots of things. If something's hot, you let go of it. If something's not working, sometimes like it's innately instinctual to do something.
But it's
so I guess like
instinct.
I wonder if you can change the instinct of like if something's not working, you drop it. You know what I mean?
Because
that's what we do.
I really feel like in a lot of cases, or the norm would be like if you want to go on reverse but then you go forward, you'll catch yourself, you'll stop yourself.
Yeah, but I mean I wonder if like, because like I said, like a lot of people like end up pressing on the accelerator more because they think like that's their instinct. I wonder if there is a way you can teach people not to have that as an instinct, to instead of like pressing more to just drop it. Anyways, either way, this happened like over 10 years ago, and everyone's dead now, including him, in case you couldn't tell by how old he was.
I mean, he could be still alive.
He's
I
not.
don't know. It was only 10 years ago.
That was 15 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, people can still be alive. 15 years. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
So Daniel, the forensic consultant, said that things go bad to worse instead of bad to better is what happens. Yeah. On July 24th, state officials revoked George's driver's license, which is 16th. Oh yeah, so that's a full 8 days after the accident. And I think because they have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
They probably
maybe they suspended it, and I just couldn't find that information.
They probably were like, no, you're not getting it back. But I can't imagine they were like, all right, you can just like.
But I also don't. A lot of people drive without a license too, so it's not like they can really monitor that regardless.
But in this situation, I can't see them being like, okay, yeah, you can drive yourself home. They probably called someone.
Yeah, they still had to call an ambulance because they probably needed to get him observed and stuff. And he doesn't have a car anymore because his car's ruined.
Exactly. So it was just documented 8 days later.
Yes.
that is.
Or it was officially revoked 8 days later. Yeah. So on January 5th, 2004, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office charged George with 10 counts of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence, carrying a penalty of up to 18 years in prison. Mm-hmm. George's attorneys were ordered to surrender his client within 24 hours. It's manslaughter though, so it's not murder. Because like you said, it's not malicious. It's the same. That's how the law works. If it's not malicious, you do get a much bigger leniency.
I mean, even when you do it malicious, you don't really get that. You don't
even get 18 years as it is then.
It's just fucking. The whole justice system is so dumb.
So George pleaded not guilty on January 6th and was released on his own recognition, which is, I didn't know what this was. Do you know what it is?
On his own recognition?
Yeah.
Read.
George was pleaded not guilty on January 6th and was released on his own recognition.
Yeah, he was just released on his own.
So it says is a conditional obligation undertaken by a person before a court to observe some conditions, especially to appear when summoned. It's an agreement that when you get released.
Yeah.
So on January 14th, victims and relatives filed a suit against the city of Santa Monica and Bayside District Corporations, who was in charge of the farmers market, alleging that the crash would have been prevented by installing metal barriers.
Yeah, but they still use those roads.
Or
yeah,
like maybe there was no like pictures.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what there was. I don't really like those pictures anyways because they're really awful. Maybe it was just pylons, but either way, it's like one of those things. Like most people have from 1981 till now, nothing like this had happened before.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was thinking like, I mean, you can't really put metal barriers up because I assume they used that road on the other, 5 days of the week. So
we have it here. We have it. It's called a Flex Street on Dundas, like as you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, they pull those metal barriers back up. I guess for incidents like this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's 2019 now.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. 2004 and 2000. Yeah. So
weird that they sued the city.
They did because
everyone's gonna everyone's
right?
gonna sue everybody.
The defendants failed to make any responsible steps to prevent or provide protection for the patrons of the farmers market. And I'm like,
I think they did.
I think they did. I'm pretty sure that they, got police officers and stuff, but some things you can't.
They had security. They had the
but
roadblocks.
With those kinds of things, you always have you just pay out because you don't want to be that city who fucking makes it worse. I guess they do.
It's just
Yeah.
People just, they need someone to blame.
And they can't really get money from George because
he's old and he probably doesn't have that much.
No. So after a delay due to his poor health, George would eventually stand trial and be found guilty of all charges October 20th, 2006, by unanimous verdict.
Yeah.
The sentence was decided by the court with a maximum penalty of 18 years. Although shortly after the attack, George issued a statement saying he was distraught and heartbroken, and then he said all those things,
though.
But when he got to court, none of those emotions were displayed during the court hearing. Mr. Weller and his family want to express this is what his lawyer said. Mr. Weller and his family want to express their deepest sympathies to the victims of the tragic accident earlier today and their families. This was unintentional and unfortunate accident. Mr. Weller is very shaken up, but his thoughts are with victims and their families tonight. But the sentencing judge noted that George showed enormous indifference and unbelievable callousness to the whole thing.
I don't want to sit here and make excuses for him, but it's just I'm sure that it's not like that's how he wanted to spend his time. I don't know. It's people,
I'm pretty sure people didn't want to die.
Well, no. It's more I don't like when other people get to assume how that old man was feeling in that courtroom just because he was sitting there and I don't know, because he wasn't crying.
But you would expect him to feel, you would still expect someone to show some emotion to the fact that they killed so many people.
Yeah, but
everyone obviously grieves differently.
It's to his standard of how he should have acted. You said that the judge said that he was callous, but it was
enormous indifference. It wasn't just
so. It's just I don't know. I mean,
an unbelievable callousness was his exact words.
Yeah, he
already killed them, so what difference
apologized?
Does it make? But he didn't apologize himself. His lawyer apologized.
Oh, okay.
So that doesn't really count either. It's one of those things where it's he didn't come out and actually apologize himself. He just said through his lawyer, "Oh yeah,"
and it was probably the wife. Okay, sorry. I thought he made a statement,
it was his
and
lawyer.
then a lawyer came out and made a statement after everything was
That's
done.
what the lawyer had said he was sorry.
Okay.
So, which is why after I read the story, I got mad because I'm so there was never an apology out of his own mouth to any of them.
You know what though? So, and it's not to make excuses because it's really not. This is an 86-year-old man who's been through probably multiple wars. He probably doesn't give a shit. He probably was sorry, but he was probably more angry about the fact that his life is now over.
Yeah,
which that doesn't excuse everything. However, the statement was probably written by his wife, and it reminds me so much of not Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth's husband. Who's she fucking married to?
I don't
Prince
know.
Philip. Prince Philip like got into a car accident like last month or the month before
They always
or whatever.
yeah.
And he like wouldn't apologize, and then the Queen apologized for him, and it took months for them to finally like. I just kept seeing all these articles about how like he wouldn't stop driving,
Yeah.
And all this different stuff, and it was just like that's just old stubborn man. Like
It's not excusing.
It's not excusing. It's just like, yeah, no, that's just like old stubborn manness.
But like when you say that, it still sounds like it's not. No, I'm not.
No, it's
I'm
like
not, you know what I mean?
I'm not
know
excusing
I'm
his
sorry.
behavior. It's just like, oh hey, yeah. Like, yeah, he acted this way, blah, blah, blah. Here's another situation where another old guy was like acting that way.
Like his life was over,
Yeah.
even though literally 10 other people's lives were actually over.
Wouldn't apologize.
Wouldn't
His
do
wife was
anything.
the one that had to like do it over.
Probably.
It's all like,
Or his
have
kids.
to say this. And you know what? Maybe he was like, I don't know. Maybe he was just like a hard man. Like,
A neighbor did mention that it was kind of weird that she'd even heard of this because she said that like he was always like a really good driver. He was a really slow driver, so it was very confusing that he would even go at the speeds at all.
yeah,
on the streets.
I really like, and that's what's so confusing. Like, a part of me feels like, I don't know, like his leg cramped up or seized up and like went down, and like maybe he was trying to like get onto the brake, but he couldn't like move his leg over or like some shit. Like, I don't know.
But I think if that happened, he would have been more apologetic for it instead of just like, I don't know.
I don't know. He's old. I don't know what he was dealing
And
with.
I feel like if something like that happened, he would have brought it up in his own defense instead of.
What do you have? I don't know.
I feel like that would have been like a medical defense.
yeah,
maybe.
but it's just like, well, yeah,
Because
like a
no
medical
one wants to go to
defense.
jail
He was-
for 18 years, right?
No,
yeah.
and he's probably just getting like his whole family is probably getting massacred in the media and the
It's
press
not like
as well.
I
Like,
always say it doesn't matter who kills who.
Yeah.
It's not the fucking family's fault ever.
no, but it was just like, you know, I don't know. He's like, yeah.
So in November 20th, 2006, George received probation after a judge determined that he was too ill to go to prison. And he would likely be a burden on the prison authorities and taxpayers. So he never went to prison. George was also ordered to pay more than $100,000 in fine and restitution to the victims' families, which I don't know if he paid or not because I'm not really sure what the means of his situation
Yeah.
was. It wasn't like he was driving a fancy car or anything either. So
No,
it's
but
one
it
of those-
doesn't matter. His
yeah.
family picks up that debt when he dies.
It really sucks. Like I said, it sucks for the family a lot of the
Yeah.
time. On May 22nd, 2008, the city of Santa Monica had thus far paid out $21 million to
Wow.
settle dozens of civil lawsuits stemming from the case.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. On December 9th, 2010, George died at age 94, 2 days after his 94th birthday.
Maybe if you provided like some free healthcare to your people down
Yeah,
in
you know,
America, like maybe people would stop suing people over everything to pay for these expensive ass medical bills,
Which are astronomically high. It's
Yeah.
$1,000 to get an ambulance ride. Like, how
my
ridiculous
concussion.
is that?
Just when I went in, when I fell and I got my concussion, because I was in Michigan when that happened. My fucking CAT scan, or the one scan, I got my bill. It was $4,156.
Yep.
And it's just like, fuck you.
So, fun fact, this case sounds familiar to our guests who listen to us, not to you, as a South Park took inspiration from the event of this episode for Grey Dawn on season 7. And that episode, I'm pretty sure it was Stan's grandfather who ended up, you know, in the exact same situation of like killing a ton of people as he was driving down. But the thing was that what happened is they were going to vote on what they should do about the elderly community, but it turns out that only elderly people actually vote. So they ended up putting a curfew on everyone else except old people.
In the episode.
Yeah, so it was great.
Only old people
But yeah, like it makes sense for them to take part, like inspiration from them because they are, I think they're production companies in LA anyway, so they would have heard about this.
Probably.
So I want to thank Wikipedia, obviously, but a lot of my information and quotes came from the Los Angeles Times article by Joel Rubin, Darren Briscoe, and Mitchell Landsberg. And the only reason that, because usually I forget any annotation. For
next week's story, I won't have any information about who wrote what. That's just because I took so many quotes from them that I felt like I should definitely be like, hey, got from the Los Angeles Times.
Yeah, cite your sources.
Yes.
It's always good to do.
But I think like my problem is that if you're right, because I don't know anything, like I said, I don't know anything about like the Ontario driving things, but people after a certain age should be forced to take a driving test, like an actual driving test.
Yeah.
But I also understand like after when you get to that age, wanting to keep your independence.
I think that you should do a written one every 5 years, and you should do a driven one every 2.
Yeah, just like a quick one
After
to make
like
sure.
75 or 80.
Yeah.
Well, definitely 80.
Definitely 80.
Like your eyes can go, your reflexes can go. Like there's a lot of things that go on, and it's not like ageism or something like that. It's just like
Your biologically, your body does
you
deteriorate.
start deteriorating.
And it's just one of those things. Like, but I think like our future looks a little bit brighter with
Because,
Tesla and their
yeah.
self-driving cars hopefully
Yeah.
coming out soon. That we won't have, we could still keep our independence, hopefully.
You know what though? So yeah,
This
I've
is gonna
given
be like
this a lot of
iRobot.
thought. Like it'll be a long time
It will.
from when there's self-driving cars to when it's only self-driving cars.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even know if
But I
like,
mean,
we'll
like-
get to that point. I mean, it's hard to say because like who the fuck knows what's going
I
to
feel
happen
like
in
by
the
the
next
time
50 years. But
I feel like by the time we turn 70 in like 40 years, we'll at least own self-driving cars to at least feel our own independence. And that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
you don't have to trust
Well, for
my
sure-
terrible reflexes
Yeah.
to be driving. I'm already a bad Asian stereotype. I'm a woman Asian driver. I'm really angry behind the wheels. I've never been to an accident, but I am a very angry driver. So then I don't trust myself to be a good driver when I turn 70 because I see my mom drive and holy shit.
Well,
Some
probably
people
because
shouldn't be allowed to drive.
You need to have the 70 years of experience, and you're being chauffeured everywhere by your husband.
So hopefully, and even then, my husband will probably start deteriorating at a certain rate too. So
yeah.
at that point, we'll at least own self-driving cars. So at least we won't have to worry about like, what about your reflexes? What if you have a seizure? If you're on seizure medication, don't worry about it.
No, self-driving cars are coming. I don't know at what point.
I don't think
It'll
it'll all be self-driving.
Yeah.
Because we're not even all electric yet,
I mean,
as it is.
Well, no, but electric, that's new. Like electric
Yeah.
cars are within the last decade, right?
It was how long will this? I know the idea of
self-driving.
is.
The idea of self-driving cars has been around for a while, but an actual self-driving car is more recent. I think
Yeah.
that's only within like maybe the last
So I
couple
think
years.
it'll happen after electric cars are more.
Yeah,
Like,
I think. See, the problem is that there's too much money in oil,
yes.
and
Not enough charging stations, which I'm really excited
Yeah.
about because they're supposed to add more.
But it's just like, so the oil people, they're not gonna want to fucking give up.
But some
their
oil people are
shit.
smart enough
Yeah.
to put money into
Well,
green
it's
energy.
also, we only have a certain amount of oil left.
Yeah.
And then
But
after that,
in their
it's like-
lifetime, they won't run out. So they don't
like,
care.
Sorry, we can't make more dinosaurs. You're gonna have to find a new fuel source. Like, that's just
But
how
it's not,
it goes.
it won't happen in their lifetime.
No.
And that's usually like, that's always everyone's like thought process of like, well, it doesn't affect me now. And I'm like, do you not care about what happens around you at all? Like if you do, I guess if you never plan to have any kids, you don't care.
No. Yeah, no, I wish people would be able to have a little bit of foresight. But then it's also like, we only want to have more foresight because we can see so much of the past.
Yes. And you would think that
really
because
can't.
of that.
Yeah.
We would
but
be
it's
better
sort
about
of
it.
like-
But we're not better about it.
No, because humans need comfort.
I'm also glad that you had a second opinion about my story. I like when we have like not disagreements, but like I guess like more differing views on
Yeah.
situations because it is important to hear both sides
Yeah.
of most arguments.
And I know it probably comes across
Like
like,
we're
I'm
yelling at
such
each other?
no,
No.
it's more like I know it comes across like I'm such a sympathizer with like bad people.
She's just
but it's
very
just more-
empathetic. There's a
yeah,
difference.
I'm very empathetic, and I also spend a good amount of time always trying to look at things from a different point of view, where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe they like.
You try to put
Yeah.
yourself in other people's shoes to
Just to be-
understand
yeah,
the
just be
situation.
like-
You're just very empathetic, and there's nothing.
Yeah. But I know
it's
that
good
some people
traits.
might be like, well, you should be
she's not.
empathizing with the victims. So
Just
it's
so-
like,
yeah.
but something clearly happened to that old man.
Because he's not a
And,
murderer.
yeah.
He's just something happened.
I
And
mean,
yeah.
or you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, and he is a total piece of shit. And 2 times he tried to take everybody out.
Yeah. And it only worked out the one time. He's actually a serial killer as well. Let's not
Just
start
like,
that.
Yeah, but probably not. It's
He's a
just
Zodiac
like,
killer.
yeah, maybe he is. So it's just
We figured it
I
out.
tend to try to understand a situation.
And I wanted to
Yeah.
make it very, very clear to our audience members that that's not, that's what it is. We promise.
We are arguing. We did argue, but
it's not like
fine.
it's like more of a it's not an argument. It's
Yeah.
like a disagreement or debate. That's what's the right word.
Yeah,
Debate.
It's a debate.
Yes.
It's fine. All right. So, I'm gonna tell you a story.
Tell me a story.
All right. You know what? I really don't want to apologize for this because I sort of feel like I'm trying to work on not apologizing for stuff as much.
It's good.
The story is we're just gonna get through it. We're gonna try, and it's mostly filled with my own fluff.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Because there wasn't a lot of information. So, Alexander Pearce was born in 1790 in County Monaghan, Ireland. He grew up pretty poor, didn't have the greatest time because it was like the 1800s in Ireland, and they
just ate a lot of potatoes.
There was not a lot of great stuff going on then. He worked as a farm laborer for most of his life until he was 29, where he was arrested for stealing shoes and sent to jail. But it wasn't really jail because in the late 1700s, early
Labor camp?
1800s, Europe was sending all of their convicts to Australia. And they were basically like, oh, you can't be a part of our civilization or our society, so we're going to ship you down here to these islands, these lands.
Yeah. And if nature doesn't kill you, then good for you.
Yeah, you can go try to make it work over there. If you live, you live. If you die, you die.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. So he got sent to Van Diemen's Land, which is an island just off of Australia and is now known as Tasmania. But back then it was Van Diemen's Land. So during the 50 years or whatever that they were using the land as a penal colony, 73,000 convicts were sent there. They were just shipping people on boats. And some people made it work. Some people thrived.
Yeah, Australia is a great country now. They don't have guns. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, that's because they were all fucking convicts.
Yeah.
They're doing well for themselves. Some crazy fucking shit happens there, but it's pretty good. So he steals some shoes and he gets sent off to Jail Island, and Alex doesn't want to fucking be there. He keeps trying to escape, which is basically all they do. Some people try to escape and don't, but either way.
I wonder if it escapes New Zealand. I guess it's still that small island.
New Zealand was a lot further out from when they were, so I think
Have you
they're
heard about Africa?
No.
Where did he try to go back to?
Just escape to the other part, maybe more of Australia, or just to a civilized portion of another island that people had been living on, just out of this jail. So people were building huts, escaping and running up the coast a little bit and building homes and becoming farmers, and they were doing really well for themselves. So you were able to survive if you tried to escape, but you probably.
Oh, I wonder if all the criminals are sent, if it's majority men and a sprinkle of women.
It was anybody that was caught stealing, men, women, children. It was all of them, little fucking 12-year-old boys that would steal a tiny penny. Would get put on a
Jesus
boat and
Christ.
shipped off to these fucking islands because they didn't want them there anymore, and they didn't want to build jails in Europe to house these fucking criminals.
And
so
it's
they just
shitty-
hey, we've got this whole fucking country.
Might as well just
Let's
send
just
them all
start.
there.
Let's just start sending them
I mean,
there.
as shitty as it must be for everyone who gets sent there, it's probably way worse for children and women.
Yeah.
1,000 times worse.
Well, the women were probably getting raped on the regular.
And this is the 1800s,
Yeah.
so this wasn't even
Yeah.
like a
No.
There's no way that they weren't. And then
Yeah,
there's
it
children
was-
as well.
yeah.
And then it's all awful.
Yep. It was terrible. And it's not like the people being sent to this island are like super great, nice people. Like,
No.
not all of them were trash. It was just like poor
Someone that-
people
yeah.
that were trying to like eat.
But there's probably also
And then
really terrible people
there's
there.
probably a lot of criminals as well. And then
Yeah.
you're mixing them all up and seeing how they do. In 1822, a newspaper listed Alex as an absconder, which is just someone who tries to escape or avoid arrest. And they put a $10 reward on his head.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. But back then, it
Yeah.
was a lot of money. So eventually he gets caught and gets brought back to jail and is charged with absconding and forgery, which is a serious, serious crime back there. Like, you can't forge shit. They were like, no, you can't do that. So he gets sent to a different jail island. So he's now sent to Sarah's Island, which is on the Macquarie Harbor. And that's on the west southern side, I think, of Australia. So
Okay.
that's why I was like, it's not going to be New Zealand. New Zealand's too far up.
Okay.
Okay. So a few months go by and Alex is still like, fuck prison, man. I just wanted some shoes to keep my feet warm. I don't want to be here. So he gathers up some friends, 7 of them, and the group of them plan an escape. And on September 20th, 1822, Alex and his comrades make their grand escape, and they run off to the harbor and swim for a while. Then they end up in the forest. A few months go. Oh, no, sorry. Wrong paragraph. So we have Alex Pearce, who is the person of the story.
Yeah.
Alexander Dalton,
Oh my
Thomas
gosh.
Bodenham, William Kennerly, Matthew Travers, Edward Brown, Robert Greenhill, and John Mather. And Robert Greenhill basically makes himself the leader. He has an axe and he's like, I'm going to control all these men. And honestly, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, he's the only one with a weapon. So you get to be in charge.
Wasn't it like if you kill him, you take his weapon and you're in charge?
Well, spoiler alert, there's some foreshadowing for you. So, 15 days into their escape, these men are cold, they are tired, they are hungry, they have no food because they didn't plan accordingly. They're in the middle of nowhere, and they basically decide one of them has to die.
Well,
In
they
order
gotta
to
eat.
feed the other people. And so they draw sticks to see who's going to be dinner. And unfortunately, little Thomas Bodenham drew the short straw. And before they could even discuss what's going to happen, Robert, the axe leader, strikes Thomas with his axe and kills him.
That's actually the nicest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Just
Just get it over with, man. Just get it over with.
Talking about it and making your last
Yeah.
things. Oh man. So
Well, 3 of them, 3 of the other guys, Alex, William, and Edward, they get fucking scared. And they're just like, this isn't what we signed up for, man. And they run off. And it's just like, yeah, no shit. So the 3 of them basically try to make it back to the prison because, like, while it might suck there, at least they have some food in a bed.
they don't have to eat people.
Yeah, they don't have to like possibly die and eat somebody else. But on the way back, Alexander apparently dies due to exhaustion, but it's possible maybe the other 2 killed him and ate him too to make their way back. I mean, who really knows? But only 2 of the men make it back to the jail. So now we have 4 men remaining. But since Robert has the axe and he's like best buds with the Matthew guy, it's like really 2 against 2. But actually it's all 4 of them because they are trying to survive together and escape. But someone's got to die so that they can eat. And Alex is like, well, fuck this. I don't want to be eaten. I just wanted some shoes. And so he starts cozying up to the other 2. And then they all turn on John and kill John. And then they eat John. Then a few days later, unfortunately, Matthew is bitten on the foot by a snake. And Alex is like, we got to leave him, man, because we can't eat him. He's been poisoned by the snake.
Yeah.
And we're going to die. And Robert is like, fuck that. We're not leaving him behind. I think these 2 are lovers. That's the
That has to
feeling
be it.
that I'm getting because Robert then carries Matthew for 5 days.
Yeah, that's definitely love.
This is a dude that like just chopped down the other fucking guy with an axe and like already ate 2 other dudes, and he's like carrying his friend who is clearly dying.
Yeah.
So I think the 2 of them were,
because the survival instincts are really strong on him.
Yeah.
But there's for him to override that.
Matthew isn't recovering. He's not getting better. So Robert kills him, and now we're down to 2. And we've got Robert, who's now our axe wielding serial killer, and Alex, who's a 5'2", barely 90 pounds little dude. And Alex knew that he wouldn't be able to win in a fight against this guy, so he had to be smart.
Oh, for sure.
So he waited. He waited patiently. Because eventually, like, someone's gonna have to fall asleep. And Robert finally falls asleep, and Alex grabs the axe and hits him a whole bunch of times, kills him, and then feasted on his body for several days.
Before the body starts rotting and you can't eat it anymore.
Yeah,
because I'm assuming he can't eat that much meat.
I mean, who the fuck knows? Like a week later or whatever, Alex finally comes upon an Aboriginal campsite where he basically steals as much food and clothing and anything that he can, and continues on his journey, where he eventually comes across some open fields. And he stated that as soon as he saw sheep, he knew he was going to be safe. He knew that he had found like civilized area, and he would be able to like just mingle in with this new crowd. And then luck kind of goes a little bit further on his side, because he realizes that the farmer that he's like strolled into is an old acquaintance of his.
Oh.
And this shepherd used to be like a criminal, so they knew each other from jail, but then he got released, and then he like set up this like farm, and
That's
he's
awesome.
been like doing all great for himself. So the shepherd's like, hey man, yeah, come on in. I won't rat you out to the police or anything like that. Stay for a little bit. And while they're there, Alex gets involved with a sheep stealing ring and gets sucked into this whole underbelly world of like going around to people's farms and stealing them. And so he gets caught with these 2 other dudes, and then they're hung and they're killed. And then he gets sent back to St. Sarah's Island, or the prison that he was at. So in total, Alex spent 112 days on the run, with almost half of it being in the wilderness in the forest. When they lock him up, he gave a full confession to the Reverend there, and then 2 other people. But the Reverend didn't believe him that he had performed cannibalism, and he was convinced that the other 4-6 dudes were out there still living in the bush and being criminals and stuff like that. And it's just like, who the fuck lies about cannibalism? Like, who lies about eating somebody else? So that's not the story that you come back and like admit to.
Yeah.
So they send him back to prison, and then within a year later, Alex escapes again. And this time he does it with a young man named Thomas Cox. And unfortunately for Alex, he was captured only 10 days later. He didn't make it as far this time. But when he was captured, they found parts of Thomas's body in Alex's pockets, despite still having lots of food. Like he had
just
bundles
likes the
and
taste of it
bundles.
now.
Yeah. So this time they were like, okay, yeah, you're a cannibal.
Yeah.
We're going to believe you. So Alex later confessed that he killed Thomas because when they finally reached the river, Tom couldn't swim. And so he was like holding him back, and he's like, well, I mean, I may as well just fucking kill you now and eat you now, and then I'll save all this food that I have for later when I don't have your rotting corpse. So Alex was the first felon to be executed by the new Supreme Court, and he was hanged on July 19th, 1824, with his last words being, "Man's flesh is so delicious, it tastes better than fish or pork."
Yes, probably. I have heard that quote before.
I've heard that quote before too, but it was like,
it's interesting to see the origin.
Yeah.
So was the Supreme Court basically from Europe, or is it like, was it a Supreme Court?
I think it was the Tasmanian. Okay, so it was So he was the first person to be executed by the Supreme Court, and then he was also the first cannibal in Tasmania. So I assume that when they finally caught him and they were doing all this shit, they were in the process of making that Tasmania. And so I think there was a judicial system that was just like starting there, and he was the first one to be hung. So it was just at the birth of their little country
government.
There. Yeah,
their government and control and all that other
on Convict Isle
stuff. Well, thank you for your story and giving me a name to the guy that said that about human flesh.
Alexander Pearce
was sometimes wondering like who said that, but I thought it was
wasn't Jeffrey Dahmer.
Wasn't. No, he's not the original. Just saying.
He's not the original.
Not by centuries.
No, not even.
Well, thanks for listening. Please leave us. We are having some problems with our whole ratings get fixed and stuff, but please leave reviews and ratings and love us and
hopefully
find us and everything.
Hopefully by the time they listen to this, that's all like fixed and stuff like that. And iTunes gets their shit together.
And email us at peoplekeepdying@gmail.com with any story submissions that you may have.
Any questions, comments.
Be really nice to us. Super duper nice.
You can find us on most social media: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. People keep dying.
People keep dying. Yes. People keep dying.
Why do you do that?
So that people remember.
I think they remember at this point. Okay.
Saying it.
Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Hope you're not dead.
Hope you're not dead. Bye.
Bye.